If I gave you the money, what would you do with it? If you think money's going to solve it and you think that that number is 10K or 100K or whatever it is, and I was to give you it today, what would you do with it? Why would it solve it? And then would you or have you ended up in this same cycle before?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, the Powerful Man, Matthew.
Why are you laughing?
I know how excited you get. I picture my son, like he just had his birthday and we gave him, he's 2. But yet when we saw a present, he understood it was a gift for him and he just started jumping up and down, clapping his hands, yelling, yay. I kind of picture your inner child doing that when I get ready to do my announcement.
Yeah, completely. Not even my inner child, it's just me.
I love it. Well, Tim, today's topic is money will solve it. And this is something we so often see in conversations. You see it more than I do even because you get the opportunity to talk to men when they book a clarity call. Now, to give the guys that are listening to us the idea, a clarity call is simply a free opportunity to talk with you or one of our other coaches just to get clarity around where you're at and what's going on. We only give out one per person, but sometimes you pick these up. I don't do the clarity calls, you do, as well as some of our other people on our team. And so oftentimes I know from talking to you and just talking to the men that we work with, oftentimes as guys, we think money's going to solve the problems. So what are some of the conversations that you're having with the guys currently?
So a lot of them, and we've covered this it ties into some other podcasts, doesn't it, as well, around having regrets and hoping they don't find out. But a common narrative that they have lived by has been the belief that when they get to a certain point, that's when they will, let's say when they get to $1 million, that's when they'll work less, and that is when they'll then have the time and the energy to play with their kids or to date their wife or whatever it is. One guy in particular who I spoke with yesterday, he believed that, his plan and his belief was that rental property was going to be the key for him. And he wanted to do that so he could have the passive income and then the freedom to travel with his wife. And then what happened was, 5 years went by. He built the rental business. He had the rental income there. He also started a second business in that time, a construction business, justifying it because they both fed into one another. And then as they reached the point, and when I say they, I mean him and his wife, as they reached the point whereby the passive income was getting to the level that they desired, he then put his foot on the gas even harder, which then drove his wife away. And he's now realizing it. He didn't realize what he was doing at the time. He told himself that he was coming from a good place. He wanted to provide, and but underneath it all, as we went through the clarity call and sent him the training, and then got him into the activation method. What he became aware of was the fact that he had actually been trying to fill a void within him with money and success. But the trouble for him that he encountered was that the more money he earned, the worse he felt. Because the more he earned, the more he also exhausted the things that he thought were going to be the solution. So that's when he felt even more lost, more lonely, more empty. And then obviously when his wife then left him too, because he became quite closed down emotionally, when his wife then left him too, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. So, in answer to your question, it's often that belief that, when I get to a certain point, that's when everything will be rosy. But as we all know, that point never arrives. And that point is always around money.
Yeah, we see this happen so often when it comes to money solving the problems. Again, like you said, we've talked about this before. And the studies that I've seen vacillate, I think it's 75,000 US, is the point of, you feel content. And I think below 95,000 US or 110,000, somewhere in that ballpark, They say, the studies show, and this is where the science and all these studies, and these are big meta-analysis studies, show that you actually don't get more fulfillment making more money than that. Yet the default is when we have problems, right? Your wife's mad at you, or your kids, or we just feel down or insignificant about ourselves. We go to the well thinking money's going to solve the problem. And it's not always money, right? So let's clarify that. It's the things money can buy too. If I get a new car, then, my wife and I are looking at new cars right now, and I'm thinking, okay, this would be a great car. And, and I'm a guy, so transparently, every time I look at the car, I'm also looking at the next model, right? The next model. And I'm not necessarily doing it to solve a problem, but I find myself in that trap of going down that tube. Like, oh, this is going to make things awesome because we can do all these adventures, and we can go here, we can go there, and we can solve all of these things. Knowing that buying the new jet ski, buying the boat, buying the extra vacation house, and all these things that we as guys do and things that I'm guilty of, those don't necessarily solve problems at all. And more often they actually create more.
Yeah. Amelia often, she reminds me of this so often. Because, obviously we are moving at a very fast pace within our organization. And, every time that you up level, new devil, that whole conversation. Mm-hmm. And, you and I have done a lot of work to balance out our hustle. You and I are recovering hustlers. We are, that's our default. And, it's kind of like a crack addict.
Yes.
We'll go back to the hustling, even though we know it doesn't work and it's not healthy to us. But because in the past we've got significance out of it, and it's been a pattern for decades, we're always working on being out of it, And Amelia has been there with me, seeing the transition from when, I used to work the 16-hour days right up until now. And it was on last week's podcast, one of the recent ones anyway, we shared about making your business serve your life and not your life serve your business. And I was having a conversation with Amelia, before I had the conversation with you, Doug, about, restructuring my day and taking time off and so on. And she said, look, Tim, I don't care, when we get there, meaning there as in, our personal goals. I don't care when we get there. I'd happily get there slower and enjoy the journey. I'd happily do that. And you know what? If we never get there, quote unquote, then that's okay too. But there, quote unquote, and obviously we've got some lofty personal goals, and we're on our way to achieving them, and it's great, and I appreciate that. And I personally, being the recovering hustler that I am, get to, one, I'm very grateful to have a woman like Amelia by my side, because we can have very honest and open conversations, and she keeps me in check. And at the same time, as we are achieving, and I love being in this conversation with you, Doug, and with the men, because it reminds me to not always then shift the goalpost. Because that's what I then found myself doing. When the men come into the Facebook group, we ask them what the biggest problem is. And they always say it often revolves around staff or marketing or more sales. Bearing in mind, they usually come into the Facebook group off the back of seeing a post about problems in relationships. The problems in, the biggest problem isn't staff or lead generation or sales. And if you want to tell yourself that it is, and that when you have those things in place, that's when the relationship will fall into place, and it won't happen. Because it's a belief system. It's a belief system that causes me or you or anyone to believe that when we achieve a certain point, that's when we will change our behavior. That point very, very rarely arrives. Mm-hmm. Because there's always another thing, because of the nature of the beast. Because as entrepreneurs, we love to grow. We love ideas. We love to seek out new challenges. It's who we are. So, money does not solve it at all. And, being able to be aware of it, that you're in that story first and foremost, and accept it and do the work to get to the root of what money is really trying to solve. Because obviously it's always something within you, isn't it, that you're trying to solve with money, whether it's the car or the home or the holiday, whatever it is. It's always something that you are hoping that you get that will then make you feel a certain way. And the key there is to find out what it is you're trying to feel and figure out how to give yourself it without the money. And that's when you then take control back, and the money and circumstance and situation stop controlling you. That's when you're able to set the rules of the game and go, hang on a minute, I'm actually okay if I don't have a take home of 500,000 or 10K or whatever, because I recognize my priorities are this. Doesn't mean I'm not going to achieve things, it does, but I'm not going to achieve them at the cost of my relationship or my health or my happiness or whatever it is, because money will never solve those things.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And, oftentimes as men, we come up with this idea like, wow, if I just had an extra $10,000 or pounds or euros or what have you, whatever currency, people listening to this all over the world. And the question I'll often ask people is like, well, okay, if I gave you that 10,000, what would you do? Oh, well, Doug, I'd pay off the debt, or I'd be able to buy the new car, or I'd be able to do this, or I'd be able to take my family on vacation. And so my reply typically would be something along the lines, okay, great. Has this happened before, right? Were you in debt last year? Were you in debt the year before? And typically there's a pattern, right? They hustle, they pay off the debt, and the next year they find themselves in the same position. Or they hustle, they get the family vacation, yet they're so stressed out at that vacation, they need a vacation from their vacation itself, right? Because it's not the money. They're throwing money at a problem. In business, we talk about this a lot, right? Don't throw money at a bad problem. Don't throw money at a bad business until it's actually solved. We know exactly what we're doing, and it's got a reason for it. And yes, you want to pay off debts and all these things, but why are you getting in debt? Or what's the deal with the vacation, and how are you showing up? Are you able to glide into the vacation relaxed and enjoy it and be present afterwards? Or, do you actually need the vacation? Could you just be present at home because maybe you want, as one of the men we talked to wants to go on vacation so he can connect with his family. Truth is, he can connect with his family today, right? If that's his sole reason for going on the vacation. So, for a lot of us, when we think about money will solve it, if I just had this extra, gosh, if I could just make 100, an extra 100,000 or an extra million, right? That'd be great. I'm not saying you shouldn't, because I think you should. If you're able to, then that's what you should be doing. However, why? Why do you want it? What's the real reason? What's the root cause? And until you determine that, you're going to repeat the same pattern over and over and over again. Hey guys, I want to interrupt this episode because I want to talk to you about something important. We put together a case study on how almost 300 men have taken control of their lives. They're 4Xing their business revenues, and they're having more connected and intimate sex, all without sacrificing their relationships or their health by using the activation method. Now, a lot of you have contacted us and you want to know how they're doing it. We put together this short 11-minute case study just for you, so you can see how these entrepreneurs are achieving this level of success. To get this case study, all you have to do is go over to thepowerfulman.com/11. Yep, that's 11. And you can get the case study right now. All right, it's only 11 minutes and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, so true. On day 3 of the Alpha Reset, when you take the guys through the visioning work, it's all about what do they want, why do they want it, and who does it affect? The what really becomes insignificant when you look at the why and the who. And then usually, what often happens is the first draft that the guys come up with, they will set these big, hairy, audacious goals financially. And then when you drill down into the why and the who, you realize, actually, I don't actually require all that money. Actually, it isn't going to take me 2 years. actually, I can have most of those things today if I just organize my priorities and, move a few things around. And when we consult with the men in the businesses, as you know, one of the easiest ways for them to make more money is to reduce the costs. They don't even have to work harder.
Mhm.
So if you really wanted to have more money and really see if your problems go away, one of the quickest ways to reduce your costs, straight away get more money, problem's still there, more than likely. It's symptom versus root cause, isn't it?
Yes.
If you are continually going after, well, if you're solving the wrong problem, like you were alluding to a moment ago, it's just never going to work. It becomes exhausting and tiring, forever chasing that elusive carrot on the stick.
Oh, absolutely. And, we talk about, you were saying, Amelia, your girlfriend, your partner, she's saying, hey, look, Tim, let's enjoy the journey. And I think as men, we forget because we get significance around money, right? It's kind of, money is the businessman's version of the bench press, right? How much do you bench? How much do you make, right? Or how much do you think the other guy makes? And by the way, guys, I know a lot of high-level bankers, and they can tell you right now, the guy that you're comparing yourself to probably is broke. They often will, I'll talk to them and they'll be like, so-and-so or this company or that company, it looks great outside. They're loans are out to the gills and the car's leased and all these things. That world of comparison doesn't work. But Amelia's telling you, look, I love you. I want to enjoy you. We've talked about this in other episodes. It's not the money, right? And my guess is, Tim, well, I don't know where you were at when you guys met, but my guess is financially, you weren't in a position to wow her with how much money you have. And if you did, that wasn't the reason you guys are together. I know you're an enlightened spirit. You've done a lot of work and you've done tons of personal development. You wouldn't get in that relationship anyway. Point being, she's not in relationship with you for the money. So yet, why do we as men, and myself included, I'm talking to myself here as I often do in these shows, why do we chase the money to then make something better when really all we really want, and say it's connection with our loved ones, is right there for us right now?
Yeah, she's so true. I'm just laughing because Amelia she always says, you're so stupid. Because the women see this, don't they? They just
it drives me nuts too.
Way before we do. And we just, I'm just like, yeah, but it's different when you're in it. You just don't get it. And she's like, come on. You can't tell me that. Come on.
It's a good thing they don't listen to these episodes, right?
Yeah. And I was speaking to, again, this same conversation. I was like, well, why did you get with me? It's like, I got with you. Well, no, she actually said, why do you think I got with you?
Mm.
And I just had a smile come over my face. And I was like, this is my chance. Well, I thought that you got with me. It's like, well, I think, I look quite good. I think that was one thing. I think that, my ambition, my drive. I didn't actually use the word ambition. I said drive. She said, Tim, I got with you because you make me laugh. Oh, wow. She said, and I love that side of you, that you are ambitious. I love that side of you, but I don't care. I really don't care. Of course, no one wants to be, struggling on the streets, of course. But really, when we talk about what really matters in life, connection, really everything in life usually boils down to love, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's making more money to then look a certain way, to then be good enough, to then get the love that you desire, whether it's to, you want to have more connection with your wife and with your kids, to experience more love or more love for yourself. Well, it usually all boils back down to love.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. And so we look at this and wrapping this, put a nice bow on this topic here as we come to the end, what would you say to these men? Give them 2 take-home points when it comes to this topic on money.
I think what you said was a great point. If I gave you the money, what would you do with it?
Mm-hmm.
If you think money's going to solve it and you think that that number is 10K or 100K or whatever it is, and I was to give you it today, what would you do with it? Why would it solve it? And then would you or have you ended up in this same cycle before? I think it'd be great for you to take inventory of that, because my hope for you is that you realize that money doesn't solve it. And again, like you said, Doug, it's not about, we're not saying here don't make money. We both love money and have very healthy relationships with money. It's great. I love what it can do. And you can have both. You can have a detachment from it and have a healthy relationship and desire and drive around it, and have everything else outside of your professional life too, in your personal life. You can have all those things. However, you've got to, in order to get to that point, you've got to break this hold that money has over you. So I think answering those two questions that you brought up will be a great start.
Well, there you have it, guys. So don't be that guy, right? Go ahead and push stop and do the work, right? You want to break the cycles that you're in the moment of any kind of decision or insight. Take immediate action, gentlemen. So that's it for us for today. We'll see you on another episode of The Powerful Man Show. In the meanwhile, go over to and join over 1,000 other men just like you in the free Facebook group, The Activation Method. All you have to do is apply. Once you apply, we accept you in, and you're a member of the community, and it's up to you to share and get the most out of that. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.